It is the end of day 3 here on our epic road trip, day 3 of 40. We are still in Montana at Glacier National Park. Day number 2 I thought was the greatest national park day of my life. There's no way that it could be. Spoiler alert. There was no way that day 2 could be topped until it was today. You walk them through this day.
I'm bad at walking people through days. We slept in
Till
a little
7.
bit. We slept until 7 because the kids were gonna walk home if we didn't let them sleep in longer.
Mm-hmm. Had some eggs for breakfast.
Had
Ray
eggs.
and Linda kicked some wonderful eggs.
Mean eggs with salt today.
Salt today. The place we're staying is amazing. It's been really good.
Yes.
I've been happy with it. There isn't a pool, which the kids weren't happy with, but that's something that we knew coming in here. And they had salt shakers without salt, but then they gave us these tiny little packets of salt. That was a big controversy because Linda likes her salt.
We got to the park a little bit later today.
A lot busier today too.
A lot busier
The
today.
park was way busier.
Yeah,
It seemed like we waited even longer for shuttles.
we did.
But this time we just went to Avalanche, so we didn't have to go crazy. And it's called the Trail of the Cedars. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it is tied for my favorite hike of all time. How would you rate the hike? You don't have to go that big.
I don't know that I can go that big because that's saying a lot. But it was amazing.
Nepali Coast and this hike are my 2 favorite hikes of all time.
Yeah, it was shaded and not too hard and beautiful the entire time.
It's 2.5 miles to get to the lake. It's a little bit kind of uphill most of the time, going up, downhill, coming back down, of course. And then once you get to Avalanche Lake, but first before you get there, it's like every 100 yards is something where you just want to take a picture and a video.
Yeah.
It's all unbelievable. And then you get up, we see deer. So there's a male deer. What is that called?
A buck.
A buck? A buck. And then there's a doe, a deer.
A deer.
A doe, a deer. A female deer.
So many deers.
We saw a snake, just a bit of snake.
Bluebirds.
Bluebird. There's a bluebird, lots of squirrels, chipmunks. And when you get to this lake, it is so cool. There are 5 massive waterfalls all feeding into this lake. There are a lot of people there, but you can hike around the lake. This is where the adventure starts. I'm going to let you explain this one.
Okay, so we get to where all the people are, and we decide that we don't want to be with everybody. So we start walking the edge of the lake to get a little further. And
Some
camp
call
on
it
the
a shore.
I called it a shore. So we
Shore.
walk on the shore, which is rocky. It's not just sand. And we make a treacherous journey, a quarter of the way across the lake, probably.
Yeah. Drop the
Stop
kids.
there with the kids and my parents. We say, see you later.
Because off in the yonder distance, we see
Another shore.
another shore. More of a
that
beach.
looked more beachish, and it was beautiful, and it was closer to the waterfalls. So we say, see ya, have fun, play with the squirrels, we'll be back. So we continue to walk on the shoreline, which is rocky. It was met with expletives.
Some people slipped into the water.
I got stabbed mucho times by sticks. Then we decided that there was a trail.
We didn't decide there was a trail.
We decided
Once we got there,
we looked to our right, only
Right.
to discover
we hear people.
a trail how many yards
10.
away from us. And that was a better way to go.
That was, but we didn't even go. We went the entire way along the
did.
shoreline because we went up to the trail and there was this other couple who was like, hey, it just ends and it doesn't get you to the shoreline. So we backtrack a little bit, go back down to the shoreline,
Continue
walking
the
through there.
treachery.
Caitlin's tripping and falling in the lake numerous times.
Yes.
And then we get there where some other people are at that shoreline and we're like, hey, is there a better way to get there? They're like, yeah, there's a trail right here.
And there was.
And there was. But we still walked around to some pretty cool spots, and then we found the trail. And there was a sign that says trail ends here, but it just leads right down to the shoreline. So that couple that told us otherwise, they actually followed us and took the shoreline to where we were at.
And I'm sure when they go up, they're
Yeah,
like,
no,
dang it,
no.
why did we do that?
Walking back on the trail was much easier, all
Take the
shaded.
trail
It's
all the
beautiful.
way
It's dry.
To the sign.
Just take the trail.
Then take a hard left, and you'll be down to
You're
the
there.
shore where no one is, and it's beautiful.
So then we hiked back. That was relatively uneventful. Then we went from there and went back to McDonald Lodge. And this is where we brought in a new stratagem because yesterday, if you remember, we had a little controversy and a lot of waiting in the sun for shuttles. So everybody went to McDonald Lodge except for me. I continued on the shuttle down to where our van is because if you're going into the park between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m., you need to make a reservation. But after 3 p.m., you can come into the park. So I went all the way down to our van because at this point it was after 3 p.m. I grabbed our van and then drove up and met them back at McDonald Lake while they're frolicking in the water.
And McDonald Lake is much warmer.
Quite pleasant.
It
It's
was
cold.
Great. It was, but it felt good.
But it's pleasant.
We all took a dip.
There were really small fish. I'm not a wildlife guy, so I don't know what they're called, but they are about this big and they swim in little schools. We had a deer come right up to us, and there's a video. I thought I was recording this, but
which I was like, "Hey Eric, are you recording?" And he responded, "Yes, I am." He was not.
But I was not. The deer literally comes up to everybody and kind of like sniffs them. I mean, they are within arm's length of Linda and the kids
the deer.
and Ray. It's like sniffing our bags.
Yeah.
I am not recording at this point, so everybody is cursing me out. I've failed as a father and as a husband and as a son-in-law many times over. And then as we're leaving, the deer is still there. So we walk up there and then we've got a video of the kids trying to feed the deer some leaves. And the deer was just all over the humans. From McDonald Lodge, we took the van and we drove up the road a little bit and we saw, it looked like kind of this cascading of water and then another waterfall. And then we headed back home. We ate some leftover pizza and now we're tuning in for the night.
Yep. Kids did baths and we're packing up.
Still no quarters have been lost. I think that if the grandparents were not here, they would have lost quarters, but Linda is very protective of her grandkids. But we have an early morning tomorrow. We're waking up at 5:45. 5:45, and then we're headed off. Well, we're going to go through Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then we're going to end up at Moses Lake, Washington. So that is what's on the plan for tomorrow.
Yep.
Okay.
Over and out.